Good afternoon. I'm from this very strange, small country in Europe. It's called the Netherlands. It's the country where you're allowed to smoke grass on the streets, especially in Amsterdam. It's also the country where, which will have an Argentinian queen in a month's time. We don't have a pope. We do have very great football players, like Johan Cruyff, etc. We have bikes, wooden shoes and tulips, but the thing you really didn't know, that we also have great market research innovations for years. And today I'm going to talk about one of those. We did a funny thing. We combined something very new with something very old. And the thing that is very new is big data. My company, Wakupa, is guilty of producing big data. What we do is we measure people's online footprint. So we measure what people are doing online. We're not measuring what people do offline, but as soon as they use a PC, a tablet or a smartphone, and they give us permission to follow them, we know what they're doing. We know what they're browsing, we know what their advertisement exposure is, we know what they're searching for, we know everything of their online footprint, but only if they give us permission. We follow 60,000 people all over the world, and that's growing, but it's big data. So that's the new thing. And the old thing is a segmentation technique, which exists already for more than a century, and it was founded by an Austrian psychotherapist. And we thought it would be interesting to blend. You know, we've had the invitation today to blend different things, so we're going to blend in this presentation behavioral data, passive metering data, with a very simple psychographic segmentation technique. It only contains 4 segments. And we've always learned that people cannot be put into boxes. I tell you they can. They're red people. Red people are very innovative people. They like to explore their frontiers. They like to stretch them up. They like to travel a lot. And for them, it's only important to have Wi-Fi and water. You know, those are the red people. They liked Starbucks 10 years ago, but not anymore. When Starbucks starts their loyalty program, you're going to lose your red people. Your red people are the innovators. And for the red people, internet is just a very efficient way to connect with their big network. They have a big global network, and internet is the way of maintaining that network. You also have blue people. Blue people are different from red people. Blue people are extrinsically motivated. That means that they're motivated by what others think of them. Blue people are about business. They're about careers. They're about control. They're about manifestation. They're ambitious. And for blue people, internet is about doing business efficiently. Now then, they're yellow people. I only have 4 of these segments, so we're almost at the end, but the good news is everybody of you belongs at least to one segment. Everybody has kind of affinity with all 4, but you really feel attracted to one. I'm not judging any of these segments, of course. Sometimes I may be a little bit exaggerating. But that's only to make the things clear. These are the yellow people. Yellow people are very social. You know, the key in their life is balance. Balance between work and between their families. You know, these people, you recognize these people from their Facebook pages. They have pictures all over the place of the first steps of their first dog, you know, the first game of their young child, you know, anything. You will see they're all over the place. They like to share everything with you. For them, internet is social, you know, it's great because it's a big family. Then you have the traditional people. Traditional people are people that are more secured. Privacy and safety are things that are very important. They belong to they need a sense of belonging, but it's not belonging to the big world, it's belonging to their family, to their heritage. For them, internet is a little bit scary, but they're curious. They want to know how it works. So my exercise for you this afternoon, I have 2 of them. The first one is you have 10 seconds to decide which of those 4 segments you feel attracted to. So it's 10 seconds, and it's a system 1 decision. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Please tell your neighbor which segment you belong to. Thank you. Who is red in the audience? Please raise your hand. Thank you. Who is blue? Thank you. Who is yellow? Thank you. And who's green? Great. Now this is exactly what we did in our experiments. So we asked everybody who had our behavioral meter, we asked them a few questions, a little bit more sophisticated than this one, and we looked at the over and the under representation. Now today I see it's about evenly distributed. You know, they're about the same red as yellow as green as blue people. So there's no over or under representation in this audience. But when I do my experiments on the internet, there are over and under representations. So some things attract more blue people than other things. So that's what we're going to see. So thanks for participating in this exercise. It's not just a thing, these 4 segments. If you have your Marketing 101, you will recognize this. The horizontal axis is the socio-graphic axis. How do you relate to your environment? If you are in a social group, where do you start? With yourself or with the group? The vertical axis is how do you deal with stress. And it's not negative stress, but also positive, like, you know, emotions. Are you extrovert or introvert? So here you see where the 4 segments are coming from. Now, if you had finished your Marketing 101, you also recognize Rogers' adapters curve. And those are the 4 stages of a product life cycle. So red people are really the innovators. If you have a website which is visited by red people, you know that you're on the innovator side. If there are blue people, the blue people are the early adopters. Yellow people is the majority. And if you're a website or if you have a product or an ad that is being seen by green people, you know, that's almost end of life cycle, right? So when we do this, you know, you learn 2 things. You learn the deeper motivations of your customers, of your consumers. And the second thing is you also learn something about the life cycle where you're in. Now this is about market research, so we have to do an experiment. This is the experiment. It is about a proprietary panel we have in the Netherlands of about 10,000 people. They've installed our tracker on their PC, so we know what they're doing on their PC. We've asked them 5 questions, and these 5 questions give a result in a certain color. So it's a proved international scheme of segmenting people. I'll take a few cases out of these experiments. It's a great research paper. I really recommend you to read it, but this is one of the cases I'd like to share with you. This is about Apple. Now, if I wouldn't have shown you this, you could have imagined where Apple is, right? It's still in the early stages. It's not really a majority product. Innovators like it. The business people are now more or less discovering Apple. So what would you expect? You would expect red and blue, an overrepresentation of red and blue. Now, this is what you see. Apple, their site is red and blue. Search is red and blue. And the banner ads, so the ads that Apple is distributing over the audience are also consumed by people that are red and blue. So if I would speak to the marketing manager of Apple this afternoon, I would say your product is really well positioned. You attract the right audience in every single online effort you make. But something happened because on Black Friday last year, they used another technique to make sure that they had a sufficient traffic on their site. There was no other company in the Netherlands that worked that had a Black Friday campaign. Apple did. They used email. They used a big email campaign. And it almost doubled their traffic on their site. But if you see what was happening, the duration, so the total amount of page views during a visit went down tremendously. So I think the average is 7 pages per visit. That's sufficiently long to buy an iPad. But they attracted a lot of audience and they didn't buy anything, you know. The average duration was down to 1.8. So they made a mistake. Because first they used a tool where only green people react on, an email campaign. You know, red and blue people, they don't read their emails anymore. And they attracted the wrong audience. Because people that are on Apple site, they're not green. So in my meeting this afternoon with the manager of this campaign, I would have another discussion. This is an interesting case from a local competitor of Facebook. So everything in the Netherlands, everything has something Dutch. So we have a Facebook and we have a Dutch Facebook. This is the Dutch Facebook. It's Hives. And on the two axes, you see the relative amount of time that people are spending. And on the vertical axis, you see the length of their attention span. So how long is their visit? So if you're on the top right corner, you're okay. So what you can see from this picture is that Hives in the Netherlands is dominated by green. So what have you just learned? Green is end of life cycle. So this product, Hives, is probably end of life cycle. That's not good news because it has been bought a few years ago by the biggest publisher in the Netherlands for about 50 million euros. And it's end of life cycle. They could have avoided that because if you look at Facebook, you don't need to be end of life cycle when you have a social site. You know, Facebook is dominated by the majority, by yellow, but they have some very interesting innovations which attract the red people, like sharing, like groups, like photographs, etc., etc. So that was a very keen strategy from Facebook. You know, hold the majority, but also attract red people with new functionalities. That's of course investment, but it works. LinkedIn. Now, I wouldn't have. This is interesting because LinkedIn has an overrepresentation of blue. You know, it's a worldwide network, but it really attracts blue people. And here I want to pause for a second, because if you're still awake at the end of this conference, something interesting is popping up here. Suppose I would have a digital footprint of somebody, and I see he's a lot on LinkedIn, and not at all on Facebook. Again, a lot on LinkedIn and not on Facebook. I know it's a blue person. So if I use this algorithm, I could use and enrich cookies, for example. And if I would have this cookie, this set of cookie of people, I could say, okay, when he's a lot on Facebook, sorry, a lot of LinkedIn and not on Facebook, he's a blue person. And a blue person likes certain brands, you know. Don't sell to this blue person mainstream brands, but sell business brands. Let's talk about business brands. This is a business brand. Volvo is a blue brand. We made a case study of Volvo. This is interesting, right? So it's a blue brand, but it has a payoff. And I think you can't read it all. But the payoff is almost completely safe. But what did we learn? You know, safety is for green people, for traditional people. Safety is not for blue people. And there's another payoff which says Volvo for life. Now that is strange. If I am this blue person, I have a lease car. I don't want to have a car for life. I want to have a new car every 3 years. You know. So there's something strange about this positioning, and we're only talking about, you know, the online positioning of Volvo. They know apparently because they are bannering to blue and to green people. So they have a kind of a split communication to the market, and they try to expose. To connect to blue and to green people. In this way, you can also see who's reacting, right? Because we see that only the blue people are reacting to this. So again, when I would meet the marketing manager of Volvo this afternoon, I would say, hey, my friend, what is this about your green and your blue positioning? Aren't you spending too much money on green people because they are not reacting at all? Now, these are the results of my experiments. So I'm not going to go through all the learnings because we already discussed it with you. What I'm going to do today is, as a closure, I'm going to take you through a few remarks. First, the World Federation of Advertisers said already in 2008, we need better measurement systems. We need what they call holistic measurement system. I call it 3-screen measurement systems. We need to have single source measurement systems because it's all about people. So we need to be able to ask people questions if something happens. I think that with the technology that we've developed, you know, we're coming pretty close to this thing, and when we are meeting these kind of requirements and just blending in some very traditional things like market segmentation, you know, things are getting pretty powerful. So this is my last slide, I think, or one of my last slides. I'm going to promise you what I'm going to do. I'm going to be back to you with 2 new pieces of research. One of them is, of course, what is it about shopper conversion? You know, my slides today were just about who's visiting the site, who's searching, who's reacting to an ad. But what's interesting is, of course, who is really buying the stuff, who's clicking on my ad, who is converting in my shopper channel, you know, and how does that differ between all the segments? So I'm going to do that research. And second thing, of course, I already highlighted that a little bit. A real breakthrough would be, can we derive somebody's deepest driver just from looking at his behavioral footprint? That would be a great thing, because then we don't have to ask them all kind of questions about their values and their characteristics. We just could look at their footprint and say, hey, listen, this is really a Volvo guy, he needs a Volvo ad. And this is not a Volvo guy, he needs something else. Although, I am just a technology company, so it is also an invitation to you, whenever you are on these interested in these kind of studies or projects, please connect with me, because I'd like to do it with you. Your expertise is more in this area than mine, because, as I was saying, I'm a technology company. So I thank you very much for your attention. And I'm open to questions.
Thank you, Piet. We have just a couple of minutes for questions.
Hi.
Hi. I'm working with True Colors for several years, and I know this methodology. I never had the opportunity to find the results of any research in the way that you submit here. I would like to ask you if you actually made a study and have what methodology did you use, and how did you get to these results? It seems to me very theoretical and not quite a result of a market research.
Okay, I hear a question and I hear a comment.
It's a comment. I think that I'm studying the True Colors methodology
Yes.
for several years.
Yeah.
I present some papers on it already, not in a digital way. And I never found any result in my studies that shows the results so clearly. Of course, the colors are different. Use a blue for business. We use that's all sense. I think that you use the same source.
Yeah, well,
sometime.
I'm happy.
But I am in doubt about if you are based in some actual research results, or is just a theoretical approach?
No, it's not. It's about 6,600 people, of which we measure what they do, and we ask them 5 questions. And these 5 questions is proven.
You have to use 80 questions to identify you have used. You are not old. You're not able to use 5 questions. It's a very quite a simplification. This is not research. I'm sorry.
Well, you don't have to apologize. You know.
This is marketing, not research.
Well, are you interested in the way we did this, or is it just a comment that you wanted to make?
Yes, I would like to say that we follow for 2 years a group of private investors, and try to understand their behavior. And we found that not income, not age groups, not everything shows the difference of behaviors. The behaviors is based on personalities. This is personality traits, yes. Yeah. And this tool is used for many years. I think Hippocrates started with it 2,500 years ago with a simplification. I'm saying that it's impossible using just 5 questions, as you mentioned, to create such a model. This is not market research. This is a marketing approach, and I accept this is innovation. This is innovation show. This is not a market research show. So I accept it as a marketing, let's say, proposition.
I appreciate your point. If I may give you a response, you know, there where we both have a different view on things, that's the point where most discussions start. This is a very simple segmentation model. You know, I've looked at 5 different segmentation models, and this was just a very simple one. And we asked 5 questions, but they were attributed with 149 attributes, you know. So it is quite a big thing. We can always make it more sophisticated. So I'm happy to join the discussion with you during the break to see whether, you know, we can strengthen both approaches. That's what I would propose. But thank you for challenging it, you know, it's good. I'm already saying, you know, this is... Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Piet.
Thank you.
Thank you.